stories. Number one. There you go.
Don't touch anything,
man. and second, to start to talk about particularly and there will be a number, and Heidi will actually kind of introduce them a little bit, I think, a number of current honors students who are at the University of Toledo, who are actually trying to figure out their way in the world, or where they think who they want to grow up to be. So some crazy idea, we thought it might be decent for them to hear our stories, and that they could then choose not to mimic our mistakes.
Right.
We basically have featured a couple, either one or two alums each month to kind of be able to tell their story. And this month we are fortunate enough to have Chrissy and Cheryl. I'm going to keep calling you guys Conklins because
that's good.
You know, I can't help myself. But all we basically do is have you guys kind of talk through your story, how you got to the University of Toledo, you know, what your experience was like at the University of Toledo, and then what you've done since, right? Where it led to and all that kind of good stuff. And if you would like to share, you know, how you met maybe a charming KDR or something like that along the way, you're more than welcome to. But first, what we'll do is we normally go around the room and have everyone at least introduce themselves and come off camera, just so we get a chance to kind of meet each other and put names with faces. So I'll go first, and then Sam, I'll turn it to you, and then we can kind of go from there. I'm Doug Rammell, obviously, a proud 1990 graduate of the University of Toledo and a 93 graduate of the University of Michigan. And I now live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm a venture capitalist angel investor. So that's me. Sam, you want to go next?
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, good. Doug, you'll appreciate this. I lost volume there for a minute because I got ambitious and tried to hook my laptop up to the fancy TV and all the technology in this conference room, which was a mistake, and panicked at the last minute because you could not hear me and I could not hear you. But welcome. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Samantha Marshall. I am a 2012 graduate of the University of Toledo. I have my master's degree here from our College of Health and Human Services. And I also serve as the Associate Director of Alumni Engagement and oversee alumni relations for our Honors College here on campus. Thank you for joining us.
So, hey, Jeff, you want to go next?
Got to give me a heads up to get off mute, but sure. I am a 1989 and 96 graduate of the University of Toledo, undergrad in communication and master's in education. Long association with the university in a variety of roles, with their staff member, faculty member, and alumni board member, and then most recently as a trustee of the University of Toledo, and finished my term as trustee, and for the first time in 36 years have no association with the university. So, but I am looking forward to football season. So
there you go.
It'll be full capacity. Our tailgate parties. So anyway, not quite sure why I'm here, because I was not a part of the honors program, not worthy, but did you know Cheryl and Chrissy well. Haven't seen Cheryl in probably 15 years. Cheryl, we haven't changed.
At least, right?
Yeah, so I do get to see Chrissy often, but anyway, the fact we were together on Good Friday. So anyway, and Dick, it's great to see you as well, because I haven't seen you since you left town. But anyway, great to see everyone, and looking forward to today's discussion.
Cool. Dean, we're going to skip you because we're going to come back to you later. So Paul Ewing, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm a 1970 grad from, I was in the honors program and majored in Russian studies. And then I went on and got my master's in history in 1978 from the University of Toledo. And reason that period is longer than it should be is I spent 2 years writing my master's thesis, The Martyrs of Westminster, Burton, Bastwick, and Prynne, which is in the University of Toledo Library, and you can all check it out and read it if you'd like.
I'll get right on that.
I went on to eventually find a full-time job teaching at Yavapai Community College. I landed that job rather late, 1989. And I taught there for 28 years, and I retired in 2017. We moved back to Michigan in 2018. I live in Spring Arbor, Michigan now, and I'm dedicating my life to studio art.
Oh, cool. Cool. Dean Apple, you want to introduce yourself and then we'll come back to you for the update.
Heidi, you're muted.
You're muted.
Hi, I'm a dean by day and a plant biologist by night. So I have this, I'm a scientist by training, and so I have a research program that is now my official hobby, which I do nights and weekends. But mostly I dean, that's an active verb, and Dean Jesup will appreciate that. I came to U Toledo 5 years ago after growing up one of the northwest suburbs of Detroit. I grew up in Waterford, outside Pontiac, Michigan. And then spent 20 years at Penn State, 10 years at University of Missouri, increasingly engaged in honors education. And at one point I thought, I really want to do more meaningful things with honor students in their community, and these small college towns didn't kick it. It didn't work for that so much. So I went out looking for a more urban institution in which we could do some of the things that you may hear about later. But anyway, I'm thrilled. I love this place. I feel like it's home. And a terrific group of, we continue to get terrific students, just like you guys were a few years ago.
Speaking of a few years ago, Ms. Sullivan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Cheryl Conklin Sullivan, and I have 2 degrees from University of Toledo, one in 1989, my major was psychology, and one in 1991, and my master's degree, hi Wendy, in communication, not in communication, in counseling. And so I cut my teeth in the advising world as a SOAR advisor. I don't know if you still have SOAR, and those are really good times. And so I've spent the rest of my life in academic advising at the university level, but for the past 14 years, I have been a college counselor at Detroit Country Day School. So that's where I've been, and that's where I am right now, sitting at Detroit Country Day School.
Cool. And for the person who looks just like you, Miss Rode, would you like to go?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chrissy Conklin Rohde, and I have 2 degrees from the University of Toledo, one in 89 and one in 90, English and English education. And for the last 30 years, I've been at St. Ursula Academy. I'm a high school English teacher. I'm the chair of the department. I write mystery novels. And yeah, I thank the University of Toledo for everything I have.
Joshua Martin, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Doug. My name is Josh Martin. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Services here in the Honors College. It's a wonderful position where I get to interact with our incoming students. I'm trying to recruit our wonderful honor students. And then also I get to work in sort of a supplemental advising capacity with our current students. I'm also a 2009 graduate earning a bachelor's in philosophy and another bachelor's in religious studies from the University of Toledo, and went off, got my master's, returned, and then was lucky enough to serve in sort of an adjunct capacity instructing in philosophy, and then did that for a few years, and then became a success coach. And then back in 2017, I started in this role with the Honors College, and UT has just forever been my home, and it's just wonderful to particularly be back here working with the honors students.
Thanks, Josh. Hey, Dave Meredith, you want to go?
Hello, everyone. Dave Meredith. I'm the interim VP for enrollment. I've been back in Toledo now for a little over 3 months. I was here, Paul, was history in Tucker Hall when you were here? Yeah, I got my master's degree in history sometime in the early 90s. The dates escape me, which is odd for a historian. Excited to be back. I'll be on staff here for about a year, I guess, trying to help us grow enrollment. I never would have passed as an honors student, but I did work in the honors program at the University of Cincinnati for 5 years. So I do have some direct connection with honors and what it means. So happy to be here and happy to learn.
Andrea Franklin, you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Hello. Oh, Sam has. Let's burn it down. My name is Andrea Franklin, and I am a development officer here at the foundation. I assist with the College of Law. the Judith Erb College of Education, the College of Arts and Sciences, or Arts and Letters, sorry, and then also the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics. Sam is to blame for roping me into this today, but I am thankful to meet everybody and really excited to put faces with names. So I've been here at the foundation for about 1.5 years now, and I actually spent the last almost 25 years in retail management before jumping that ship and saying goodbye to it forever and moving on. I hold a bachelor's in business administration from Heidelberg, and I'm currently in a master's program for higher education administration. So that's me.
Thank you. Megan Henry, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Megan Henry. I am a channel marketing specialist currently for a company in Maumee, Furniture Doors. I graduated from Honors College in 2013. Probably the best college experience for honors for me was being able to travel to Greece with Linda. That was probably the best experience in my 4 years at college at UT, and I will always have it with me. So I love Honors College for that. And also the rambunctious debates we would always have in Linda's class. They will definitely live with me as well. So happy to be here.
Megan?
Yes.
I was not director of the honors program at Yavapai College where I taught, but I was invited to go on 2 of their trips to Greece and Italy. Once in 1990, and then once around, I think, 2012. And those were 2 of my, with 25 wonderful students each time. And those were 2 of my mountaintop experiences at Yavapai, those 2 field trips.
Yep, I went in May of 2012.
Cool.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I'm jealous because I didn't get to go anywhere, but that's beside the point. Sarah Talia, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Sarah Tala. I'm currently an honors ambassador, and I'm also in the honors college. This is going to be my first year as an honors ambassador. I'm gonna be a sophomore next year. I'm majoring in biology, and I have a pre-med concentration. And I'm also involved with a couple organizations here on campus, such as campus activities and programming.
Cool. Well, welcome. William Pierce, you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, friends. Billy Pierce. I have the honor of serving as the Associate Vice President of Alumni Engagement. Been here on this side of the house for about 2 years and 3 months and 2 days. But why that's important is because for 18 years prior to that, I was the enrollment and admission space, due in large part to the gentleman with the hat on his head, Mr. Estop. So I owe a good portion of my career to that guy and the investment that he made in me. So for those who have worked with me directly, Mr. Palmer, Ms. Marshall, a lot of my management style and leadership is taken from that gentleman right there. So I started out as a student in Dick's office as a tour guide, and then moved up the ladder in admissions. And then as some called me the other day, a traitor leaving admissions to go to Alumni. But certainly love the institution, 2-time graduate, working on my 3rd and what will definitely be final degree ever in life, and hope to be done by this fall. So good to see everyone on here, and appreciate the invitation.
Hey, Billy, I think one of the things that you're going to hear over and over again is many of us got our start as tour guides in the college or in the admissions office. So
I will quickly say I'm probably going to bounce my camera off because this is my second of what will be 4 consecutive meetings today. So I'm going to try and squeeze in lunch, and you probably don't want to watch me chew. So I'm going to bounce my camera off for a minute.
Please go right ahead. Colin, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. And Billy, who just went off camera, is who I owe my presence at the University of Toledo to. He hired me as Associate Director of Admissions just over 4 years ago. And I've moved into the Director of Undergraduate Admission position since Billy's move over to the Alumni Association. So it's good to meet all of you.
Sean.
And then Hamza, I'm going to mess up your name, so I'm going to apologize in advance, but you want to introduce yourself?
That was actually perfect. Yeah, my name is Hamza Aftab. I was a recent graduate from University of Toledo in 2019 with a BS in biology. Currently, I'm actually trying to pivot away from bio and move into business. So if anyone here has any help whatsoever, I'd be willing to take it. But yeah, I was initially planning on going into pre-med, and that has kind of pulled away. I actually think I know Sarah's sister, Marina. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. So say hi to her for me.
It's a
I
small
will.
world. It's a small world. Hamza, so I was originally a philosophy major with minors in biology, chemistry, and physics, which of course I don't
Wow.
I don't use any of them on a day-to-day basis. So feel free to call me. I can more than help you in pivoting away from biology.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
So you're welcome to give me a call too. I didn't say what my day job is. I lead corporate communications for Dana Incorporated, which is a Fortune 500 based in Toledo. So happy to have a conversation with you. Two other quick updates too. I do owe start to my career to Dick Staff, who hired me out of college, and I kind of owe my master's to Cheryl, because we took a lot of classes together. She took far better notes in statistics and a few other courses than I did. Thank you, Cheryl, for that.
Okay, Dina Apple, do you want to kind of give your honors college update, and then we'll roll into the program? Dean, you got to come off mute. Now, you know we should all be drinking every time you do that, but that's beside the point.
And you know a PhD guarantees nothing. Anyway. So a few quick updates. We're a lot the same in some respects as we were when many of you were honor students or watching your friends who were honor students. And in some ways, we're very different. We have many more students, and they come from all colleges on campus. We're welcoming a class of 400 coming in from all majors on campus. We're largely 70% STEM because of the nature, and the high quality of our professional schools. But that is, so we're much bigger than the handful or two that used to meet in Sullivan Hall in the original days, which Paul experienced. And there's the Honors College program, and then there are honors tracks within each of the academic majors. Sometimes that's at a department level, sometimes that's college. But so the students have an integrated experience from entering the Honors College, taking some of their gen ed courses, and then specialty courses and attention within their units. And everyone has to do a thesis, a capstone project, or creative achievement. Now, we still do have something that's kind of like reading conferences, which is what they were probably called. I don't know when that transition happened, some few years before I arrived. It's now called Ideas in Society, but it's the same exploration of human thought ideas in small discussion-based classes. So all of our classes right now are capped at 19 or fewer. So we still get that kind of customized honors experience. And then we have that same discussion-based experience happening in several other courses that the students take before they delve entirely into their major. Because we have a history on this campus of small honors activities in the individual units, it was really incumbent upon the Honors College to define what made us different. What do we do? What is the value added in being an honor student now? Because as Cheryl and Christina will know, the student population is really different now, and they're looking for different things, right? So how do we provide something unique? And we've decided to really focus on complementing what the students get in their majors. So the students will take a deep dive into biology, engineering, history, whatever, and get a premier honors experience there. But within us, we tee them up by scaffolding all those important skills that students need, like critical thinking, communication, creativity, collaboration, cultural competency, and community engagement. So we refer to those in shorthand as our 6 C's. And we build that up in the courses they take with us. And then, of course, they're reinforced in their other experiences on campus. So so that's, our new curriculum, and other time we can go into detail about other of the courses, or you can email me if you're interested. But based on the new curriculum, we refined our messaging. So we can say, this is what you get in addition if you're an honors student. And that has been both in print, but particularly online and social media messaging. And so now we're to the point where I can brag that we have more online engagement at the recruiting stage for the Honors College than we do in the university as a whole. I mean, any other unit in the university. Okay, the engagement rate, you can measure that in a variety of ways. And we have more and more students choosing to attend U Toledo because of the honors experience they can have here. So whereas we used to kind of passively track, kind of a fixed proportion of what's in the total number of students at university, we're seeing those slopes start to diverge a little bit with honors pulling in more. And that's the success of telling our story. And Josh actually has a large role in that, because he's also one of the many hats he wears is communications chief. So we are telling our story better. And part of that is telling the story of our alumni better, which is why I'm so thrilled to meet all of you. And I'm just warning you, you may get tapped for an alumni profile piece in the future. Not may, you will. And I'm begging your forgiveness and agreement to participate in that down the road. So that's that's the short bit, and that's all for now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Heidi. I can say as one alum that we're very pleased with how the Honors College itself has grown, and particularly how it's grown to encompass all parts of the campus. Because that was one of the things when you go back and look at the history, because it was primarily based in the College of Arts and Sciences at the time, there were a number of folks who probably deserved to be in the Honors College that were not eligible to be in the college because of the program they decided to be admitted to from the get-go. So I'm glad to hear that. So let's get to the business of the day. So we have these two lovely ladies who look surprisingly like each other from Lima, Ohio, who then found their way to the University of Toledo. Both joined sororities, both got involved in student government, both were campus leaders, both within the Pan-Hellenic Council as well as a number of other student organizations. And both tried very heartily to keep a number of us on the straight and narrow as we were causing chaos for Dan Abrahamowitz and others back at the university back in the day. So Cheryl and Chrissy, if you guys would kind of like to tell your story and just kind of explain a little bit how you got from Lima to Toledo and your path through Toledo and where it's gone since. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Doug. I think it's funny because Chrissy and we actually have, would you say, very much the same story?
Yes.
We really, even though, we're identical twins and we're 53-year-old identical twins. So, if we still look a little bit alike, I think. But, from Lima, Ohio, and I see my sorority sister, Wendy East, up there. Big love to you, Mason. And so we were admitted, Chrissy and I talk about this all the time, and especially, my role as a college counselor, trying to find the right fit for a student. We were really thinking about going to Ohio State, and then we toured. We were thinking about Dayton. Can you think of another school that we were interested in?
Not really.
No. We were talking about this.
Ohio. We had to
go stay in Ohio, and we decided we were going to go to college together. Actually, Mom and Dad said they'd buy us a car if we went to college together. So we went, so we just didn't like. We were really, I think we fell in love with the limestone and the beautiful campus. I just toured a college. My daughter goes to a Jesuit school in St. Paul, Minnesota that looks so much like the University of Toledo, University of St. Thomas with the limestone. And it's just so beautiful. And we saw that right away. And then Chrissy's a better student than I am, to tell you the truth. And she was right away, her ACT score put her in the honors college back then, but mine didn't. But Jim Larson gave me the chance to be, in the honors college, which And I do recall that only the folks in the College of Arts and Sciences could be in it. And I think the reason they said that kind of was because it took up so many of the general education requirements. Like with the whole year of readings conference, and then the second year, and arts and ideas, a full year of arts and ideas. So that would be 3 quarters and then 3/4, 6/4 of that. And we were really blessed to have that experience. And one of my fondest memories of the University of Toledo are those courses. So yeah, we were just, I was lucky. Chrissy's brains got me into the honors college. I'll say that. What do you think? What is your memory, Christopher?
I think the same thing. I think that it seemed accessible. Ohio State just seemed like too much. And 30 years ago, Ohio State wasn't that great of a school, and people don't believe that today, but it really wasn't. And my kids are both graduated from Ohio State, but it really wasn't. And it was a beautiful, welcoming place with, a nurturing environment. I feel very, very lucky to have found it with my sister. And we were just surrounded by wonderful people. And
it was accessible. Like we felt right away like we could get involved in things. It didn't seem difficult to be in clubs and organizations. It didn't seem, and it turned out to be the case. Like I can remember, I don't know, Wendy's popped away, but I think my sorority dues, Wendy, am I right about this? Were like $40 a month.
Yeah. Yep.
And people, oh, it's so expensive to be in sororities. Actually, it wasn't. Even 30 years ago, $40 a month, you could get a job on campus. And that's where I met Mr. Jeff Cole. He was the president of the student body and editor of their newspaper too, weren't you? And so we could just get like a job on campus and pay for a sorority. Things just didn't cost that much. And it just seemed like if you had interest in something, you could do it, which actually was the case for us. Fun fact, I'm sending a student to the University of Toledo this year. Yeah, he's in the direct med program. So from Detroit Country Day School. And I talk about the University of Toledo, I mean, ad nauseum up here.
You get a lot of our very best students from St. Ursula.
Just a couple dozen more, please.
Yes, I mean, we funnel some amazing students into that school.
So obviously you guys went through the University of Toledo, and then what has happened since? What have you done?
You mean with the university?
No, in your careers. And how did you choose your paths?
Well, I'm a high school English teacher and a novelist who labors in obscurity. Right down the road at St. Ursula. So and I've liked it. I really have. I think the College of Education graduates many fewer people. Am I right? Is it smaller than it used to be? What would you say?
I was I was a tour guide extraordinaire, I might say. One of the few people who could give 2 tours on a Saturday morning. And everybody was just exhausted. But I wanted to give the tours. And I could walk backwards. Yeah. And I had a couple jokes that, people kind of smiled like they were halfway listening. And then that grew into being an orientation leader, which grew into being a graduate assistant for a physical therapy advisor. And that's how my entire career started. So it's just been, it was just when people just kind of tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, would you, want to work with us? And I don't think, here's what I will say. Coming from a small town, and there's now this big thing in admissions about rural folks and people like in Detroit Country Day School, we talk about rural folks like they're another species. We don't even understand rural folks. And I always say, I am a rural folk. It's people like me. And I won't speak for my sister because I do think Chrissy was more assertive always, but I did not have the confidence to go someplace that I thought I needed people to invite me to do things. And I needed people to encourage me. Probably, looking back, I wish I had more confidence, but for me, that's what the University of Toledo was. And the Honors College, my gosh, we we just had to, it's some of the best friends I have today are certainly from the Honors College at the University of Toledo because the classes were smaller. It made, you know, what we say here in the college counseling world is, you know, you can really make a big college small. And the University of Toledo is a very large college. I think when Dick was here, it was enormous, right? Absolutely enormous. And but the Honors College made it smaller for us. Now, as you know, the big universities have neighborhoods. You know, they've got little neighborhoods, so you kind of cross paths with the same people now and again. But I know a lot of people from big cities and a lot of people from, you know, college prep high schools. They would not be afraid to go to a school and jump right into things, but I would have been.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, Cheryl, because the way that I always describe the University of Toledo and the way I've described it to my own kids and as an alum is that because of the honors program, I actually was a part of a small liberal arts school that happened to be co-located inside of a big state research university. And so consequently, I got 2 years of liberal arts with a great group of people that I got to know and love very much and stretch my mind, because I was that kid that grew up on a farm as well. And so when I went to Toledo, it was the big city. I mean, as far as I was concerned, you know, it was the big city. But then I also got to do 3 years of genetics research, bench research with, you know, Dr. Stephen Goldman, which I couldn't have done at a liberal arts school. I couldn't have done that really at most universities. So I think that back then, and one of the architects of that program at the time, or of that structure, and I think in some ways that marketing message, was our other significant guest of the day. Dean Dick Eastop was dean of the College of Admissions for how many years, Dean?
5. Long time. I enjoyed every minute of it, though.
Well, so let me ask you this. Do you realize that you were responsible for recruiting about 161 national merit scholars throughout the history of the University of Toledo?
I didn't know it was that much, but or that many.
Do you want to guess how many were recruited to the university prior to your deanship?
None. 3.
That would be accurate, at least according to our records that we've been able to dig through, right? So obviously one of the folks that you did recruit, I was, you know, I like to say I was one of the first recruits as the first year of the presidential scholars when Jim McComas asked you to go out and recruit the presidential scholars, but I finished 5th. I wasn't in the top 4. I was 5th. So I was an also ran for the presidential scholarship, but because of you and because of Dan Simrel, I thought I could be the next Doug Flutie. And so I came to the University of Toledo and managed to play football for a couple years, as well as do a bunch of other things. But I would not have ever attended the University of Toledo. I was all set to go to Johns Hopkins. And would have gone there and probably played football there as well. But if I could play Division I, why wouldn't I go do Division I? So in many ways, like Billy said earlier, I think you're responsible for a number of us either being Rockets in the first place or along our career paths. So one of the other kind of funny stories I was going to throw out, Jeff, I'm sure you have several of these as well. But Cheryl, I showed up for my very first tour guide tour. I was going to be the tour guide. I'd been on, my family had Rich Carl, who was a KDR, had served as my tour guide when my family and I first came to visit. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do that. That's pretty cool. And so I showed up for my very first tour guide episode, and I walked in the admissions office, and I'd worn a pair of hole in the jeans, bleached, tie-dyed jeans, and thought that I was going to be fine. And Dean, you took one look at me and said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm here to give tours. And you said, no, you're not looking like that. And so you made me go home and change. And so I was one of my very first business lessons, right? About how to present myself, and that charm wasn't going to get me everywhere because the big burly dude in the admissions office wasn't biting on my charm. So Jeff, what stories do you have?
I just want to know if Cheryl remembers any of those jokes that she told as a tour guide. Boy, you know, put me on the spot here, but the common theme that I was hearing from you and Cheryl and Chrissy was the caring environment. I believe that is a differentiator for the University of Toledo that hasn't changed in 35 years. And Dave, I know that the marketing folks, when we came out with the campaign, I was insistent that we use the word caring, and they decided to use the word supportive. I think supportive is a throwaway word, and I think caring is a word that resonates and differentiates the University of Toledo. So I'd encourage you to explore that with the marketing folks, because I do think it's a differentiator for us. And you know, it's like you said, Doug, you get a liberal arts education with a science degree. The interdisciplinary opportunities at the University of Toledo are what sets it apart as well. And there's very few degrees we don't offer, but Ohio State can say, well, we were interdisciplinary. But you get into silos and fiefdoms and that type of thing, where at the University of Toledo, there's only a few faculty maybe in some of these programs, and they're eager to work with other faculty from other programs. So I think that's a differentiator. Most of the stories, though, that I remember, since this is being recorded, I can't tell.
Well, so Dean, I don't know if you realize this. Hopefully you don't realize this, because we wanted this to be a surprise. But part of the reason we wanted you to be on today was not only for you to get a chance to see the twins, but also because you were going to be the very first recipient of the Honors College Lifetime Honors Award. So basically, as an advocate and a proponent of the honors program, we have nominated you to be the very first recipient of this award. And please understand that it is very heartfelt and very intentional. You've influenced a number of our lives at a very critical moment in our lives when we could have gone a lot of different directions. Some of us professionally, some of us academically, and some of us socially, through just your own personality, your own gregariousness, and the way that you ran your operation and the way that you insisted on things being done. And some of us mimic our personal behaviors as well as our professional behaviors off of what we saw you do every day. So, so I think we have an official certificate, Wendy, that you have there. So we will be getting that formally printed and framed and sent to you. We understand that you have a University of Toledo wall, and we hope that it takes up a nice square space in the middle of it. But you have done many great things for the university and specifically for the Honors College. And we all collectively probably would not be here today if it hadn't been for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's great to see all of you, though. It really is. I have so many memories, and I love my job, and I was really lucky to love my job, and I wanted to be a Jeff Cole. Hi, Jeff. And so it really it's really good to see all of you, and to think back. Jim McComas started that whole thing. Jim McComas, before he even became president, called me to come to his temporary office because he wanted to see me. And I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be interesting. What the hell is that all about? And he sat down and he said, do you know how many National Merit Scholars we have at the University of Toledo? And I had no clue. And I said, well, I could guess, but probably would be wrong. And he says, yeah, probably would be. And he said, the answer is 3. And oh, okay. And he said, I would like that to be 5. And maybe that's your job for next year to make it 5. So I came back to the office and called the team together, and I said, let's make it 10. And so that was our goal. And we ended up with, I think, 14 in that first class. And everyone was ecstatic. And from that point, you know, we just ballooned that program. You know, it just grew and grew and grew. But none of us knew that Jim McComas's plan, he was going to use the university as a pass-through. And I think we were doing all the things that he wanted us to do to make him look like a great president, so he could go on at Virginia and you know, be another president there. But you know, I love Jim McComas, but that was it. I mean, he was using us as a pass-through. But that's the way it works.
Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing about that is that so as those numbers grew and grew, you got a number of us that tagged along because we went to the National Merit semifinalist recruiting things. We were part of those programs, and we helped then recruit those additional kids. And ultimately, that population of students, right? And Jeff, I'll look to you for kind of backup on this. We changed the face of the University of Toledo. Programs like the Student Rec Center would not have happened without student leadership that came from that population of students that you recruited. Greek housing was something that came out of that student population. The
expansion of the Glass Bowl was
absolutely
without the student leadership support of that wouldn't happen. You know, Jim McComas, you know, that Dick referenced, I mean, it might have been a pass-through job for him, but he did recognize the importance of student leadership and a shared governance model that unfortunately doesn't exist at most schools any longer, including the University of Toledo. You know, and you mentioned it before the call started, Doug, the Presidential Ambassadors Program is something else that we started. And Cheryl and Chrissy were ambassadors, as well as you, Doug, and I was. Still have my coat with a patch on it. It no longer fits, but I weighed 160 pounds back then. But anyway, it did change the face of the University of Toledo for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it you know, so we so the way this award's going to work, Dean, is that we will have other honors program alums. They will be able to then nominate their favorite teacher, their favorite professor, so whoever potentially influenced them while they were at the University of Toledo. And then we're going to end up with a digital wall of honors that we've talked about that they will be featured on, and we'll then build from there. But the very first mug on that digital wall of honors will be yours. So we'll
you got to rethink that. You know, you really should.
I was just going to say, I don't think we're going to take a picture of this Zoom, you know, but we'll have you dig through your memoirs and find a suitable picture, and we'll make sure that that's the picture that represents you.
Well, so, thank you.
Well, well deserved. Well deserved. So to the alums that are on this call, Paul, I'm sure there's going to be somebody that in your past really influenced you. Jim Larson was another name. I think Cheryl, you mentioned that obviously was very influential in my path, along with Bill who was the biologist? Bill
Bischoff. Bischoff.
Have we figured out where he is by question?
Someone gave me a phone number from the alumni office, and so I was thinking of having the two of us team up on a call, but maybe I could check to see if he's
I would love to talk to him. So just as a side, Bill Bischoff was the professor who told me in biology class that I was either going to end up an all-star or in jail, and he wasn't sure which. So I think it was because I was arguing with him why I deserved a B+ instead of the B- that he had given me, but that's beside the point.
Since I'm such an old timer, Jim Larson really is the only name that people have mentioned throughout the course of all of these meetings that I could nominate. So I nominate Jim Larson.
Well, you would have many of us that would support that nomination because in many ways, I think for a number of years, literally he and his personality carried the program. I mean, and really was what kind of drew a number of us into the fold, if you will. So we got me and the Conklin sisters, and I'm trying to think who all else, Dave Kroll and oh man, we were all in that same class in the basement.
Her daughterman.
Yes.
He's a year older. We could go. There were lots of people. Jerry Catcher.
Absolutely. So, but we used to get in vociferous arguments about, the philosophical issue of the day, or I remember somebody, and I don't remember, I remember somebody writing a poem called The Madonna Whore Complex. And so it was basically all about the roots of feminism. And we argued about that for like weeks. I mean, and it was just fascinating for a kid from a farm out in the country near Dayton. I mean, those were words we weren't even supposed to use. I mean, so it was fascinating. So opened up the world to me and made all the difference in who I am today. So Heidi, any final comments or any points you want to leave?
Yes. So a thank you for everybody being here and an openness to following up with you in some regards so that we can make the best use of our alumni to help us recruit additional students to the college. And also your suggestions for these events. We've kind of settled, thanks to Doug's boundless energy and enthusiasm for this project, we're establishing a set of kind of loosely themed events, and we have some in the works already. But if you have particular ideas, I mean, we're going to do some. We did one on intrapreneurship last month, and that's a really important concept that it's leading from where you are, right? And as opposed to the entrepreneurship or just owning your own company. So there are things like that which are core concepts that draw in certain subsets of our alumni. And if you're interested in having a specific topic, shoot it to us and we can help organize it. And this is where I turn to Sam, who is an extraordinary person in her role and does all of the organization with tremendous enthusiasm and skill. So thank you, Sam.
Heidi, you mentioned a course that was a kind of core of the core. Was it Ideas in Society? Was that the name of the course?
Yes.
Okay, I just like you to know that when I was at the University of Toledo, it was not an honors course, but I took a course from a guy named Herb Zorno. It was called The Individual and the Institution. At some point in the future, if you would like to discuss with me that course, I think there would be some interesting material that I could share with you about that concept.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Paul. And that is timeless. The tension between who we are as individuals and who we are collectively as social beings is remains really important. And I think that would be a really interesting topic for a seminar.
Okay, so Sam dropped away, so I'm guessing she probably has some technical difficulties.
Oh.
Oh, we can't hear you. Okay, well, so you know what? I'm going to do your pitch for you. So just give me a commission, right? So for all of you alums, I'm assuming that you all are part of the annual fund campaign. And if you would like, when you sign that check, feel free to designate that to the Honors College, number one. Number two, we are looking to reconnect alums, right? So, Cheryl, Chrissy, I'm sure you guys all know and have connections to folks that I know but don't have connections to. Send them out, right? Pull them in, particularly folks who've done really kind of interesting things. We'd like them to tell their story. Heidi, who was the volleyball player that's now an Arctic scientist chemist that we had, what, 3 weeks ago?
Mallory Ladd?
Mallory Ladd, yep.
There we go.
Okay.
He was absolutely fascinating. And so, and had her own story as how she was recruited to Toledo, what she found once she got here, how the Honors College really kind of set her up for her career. And now she's off doing incredible things for the national government, actually, or for a foundation as a part of the national government. But we're looking for those kinds of interesting stories, both A, because they're interesting, and also two, because they provide context, I think, for our current Honors College undergraduates, right? And so help them dream big. So we're constantly looking for those kinds of stories. And then anything else, Heidi, that we need to mention?
I don't think so. If you're not receiving our periodic, roughly quarterly alumni medallion, please reach out, because that probably means we don't have an updated email for you. But that's the best way to stay in touch.
I'm sorry. And then we also do have a LinkedIn group. So if you're not a member of the LinkedIn group, search us out and join. And Jeff will even allow you to be an honorary member of the LinkedIn group. And then
Doug, can I jump in really quickly? I want to make sure that I share this information because I don't think we've shared it on this particular call, but we did not mention that Mr. Doug Rammell is being recognized this year as our 2021 Distinguished Alumni Award winner from the Jesup Scott Honors College. So we should also mention that come this October, we will have the opportunity and pleasure of awarding him with that award over homecoming weekend for all of his dedication and hard work and support of the University of Toledo. So thank you, Doug.
Doug, for the record, we're glad you didn't go the jail route, because you would not have been selected for the award.
Billy, if you know me at all, I would have led the insurrection at the jail. I would have either been famous or infamous.
And Heidi, I don't want to put Megan on the spot, but you had mentioned earlier in the call that we will be reaching out to all of you in hopes that you would be willing to share your story for a future e-magazine or the Honors Medallion newsletter that goes out. And Megan was kind enough to start sharing some photos. She found some photos from her trip. So
oh, fantastic.
Share those with you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think, in many ways, Dean Eastoff, to kind of go back to you, one of the things that I think you started, and I don't know that you realized it when you did it, is you started a different culture at the University of Toledo, in that you attracted probably a more traditional college-aged kid who was from across Southeast Michigan or Northwest Ohio, or even as far south as Dayton, that were coming from small towns and rural areas, but came to the University of Toledo because they happened to test well on the PSAT and they were reasonably smart, and so kind of got caught in the web that you were weaving to attract the National Merit Scholars. And so that group of people not only matriculated at the University of Toledo and changed the face of the campus, but have now gone out and have built their lives. And it's funny because I want to read this. I found this when I was doing some research this weekend, but you had put out a press release in 1994 where you basically were quoting the 1993 fall quarter National Merit Scholars recruitment. You had gotten 36 National Merit Scholars that quarter. But as it turned out, that actually ranked as the 40th in terms of numbers across the entire United States for all colleges and universities. It then also ranked for, I believe, 19th for public universities. But what's really interesting about that number, though, is you said, we are very proud knowing that these students have chosen to attend the University of Toledo, become our alumni, and go forward with the knowledge and experience this university will provide to be important and successful contributors to our society. I think that has been and born to be true, all right? And what's really cool is as the Honors College alums have told their story, like the Conklin sisters, they've gone off, they've changed the world in their own ways and in their own space. And much of that is a credit to you, because they wouldn't have come to the University of Toledo had it not been for you and the programs that you initiated. So I think I'd like that to at least be the kind of parting thought. And I think very well deserved.
Thank you. Well, give Jim McComas credit for having his vision and starting that ball rolling, because that's really what happened.
Well, but I don't think Jim McComas didn't run the admission office.
You're right.
Jim McComas ran a lot of things. You got to remember, I served, partly in student senate when Jim McComas was still there. And I still remember the front page story on the Toledo Blade when they figured out they'd flown to Virginia Tech, so if you remember that. And obviously Frank Horton played his part too. But I think there was a guy sitting in the admissions office that actually probably played a bigger part.
Well, and a guy who said, "You want 5? I'm going for 10."
Exactly. Exactly. So, well, hey, listen, guys. So we try to keep this under an hour. We're actually almost right on time. So we will do this again next month, and we'll get an email out as to who the featured alum will be, and we'll build and continue building from here. So, it's really ironic because I don't know if you remember this, Dean. The tagline, the marketing tagline for Toledo in the by mid 80s to the early 90s was "Where great futures start." And of course it was a shooting rocket, right? And in many ways, I know, at least in my case, I don't know that I can say that I've had a great future, but it clearly started at the University of Toledo. And so for that, I'm very grateful.
I just wanted to say thank you guys. This really means a lot to us. And my mom's here too. And my husband Sean is here, and we're all listening. And the university, we joked when we were kids that it was my dad's 4th child, because he spent all of his time and to this day is still dedicated to that university. So thank you so much. And I know this means a lot to my dad because the university means a lot to him.
Good. Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Bye. You're welcome.
Yeah. Put your mug on another wall. When that's off.